Have you had enough water? I've asked that question before. People express online or in person that they're depressed. Being depressed is the worst. I'm a person who wants to do good. I want to share love with the world and make it a better place. If it's someone you know, maybe they reply in the affirmative and shrug it off. Maybe you have a meaningful conversation about how life is full of disappointments and today has been one of those days. My intentions are good, therefore I must be doing some good, right? Well, I've seen quite a few posts on Twitter lately. Here I see many people screaming into the void about how often they get this little trite advice. The comments are often full of replies mocking similar types of advice. Are you eating enough? Have you had enough exercise? I've been able to manage my moods without medication. It's hard not to feel a little attacked if you've been the kind of person who gives this advice in the past. I think you can see how that might be less than helpful to someone who's currently struggling. If you're the type of person who likes to help, reading all of this might be a little bit hurtful. Feeling hurt is a valid feeling. It's okay to feel hurt, but it's just as okay for that person to feel depressed. What's not appropriate is to take your hurt and point the full force of your indignation back at someone else on the internet. This may be a hard lesson for some of us who are raised as boys. Boys aren't really told often, or at least in the past, that it's not appropriate to aim the full force of your indignation at somebody. Women seem to have the opposite experience, from the women I've listened to and from people who I've read online. Women get a lot of unsolicited advice, and they're expected to listen, and they learn at a young age. If they don't, then they may have to deal with a disproportionate and indignant response. So I have a little bit of advice for myself. Cheese warning, Vanilla Ice. I'm going to stop, collaborate, and listen. Stop. I need to ask myself a question before I try to respond to somebody who's expressing their frustrations with depression. Will my response help the other person? How do I know? I'm going to take a little cue from the book on nonviolent communication and talk about needs. First, my needs. I want people to be happy, so I want to help. Second, their needs. I can't really know that for sure, but I can ask permission to find out. Collaborate. To talk about actually helping, we need to make the distinction between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is when you understand that somebody's going through something hard and you want to make it better. Empathy is when you try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and find out what they actually need to make it better. Receiving sympathy can feel patronizing sometimes. Receiving empathy can help build trust and create a connection that helps people heal. Sometimes it might be true that a person just wants to be left alone. Recognizing the need for quiet and space is important too. So instead of offering advice right out of the gate, maybe it's good to ask if this person is okay talking about it. If they're not, they might not tell you at all, especially if they're a stranger. That's the thing about talking to strangers. Strangers can be kind of scary, especially if you're in a vulnerable place right now. Usually if I ask if somebody wants to talk and they don't actually respond, it can be hard to convince myself that it's okay. My mind instantly runs to negative thoughts. What are they thinking? Do they think something negative about me? Are they talking about me now behind my back? That I just need to deal with. That stems from my own insecurity, and it's really not helpful to share that with them. Listen. If this person chooses to respond, or even if they choose to talk about you through other channels, it's an opportunity to learn something. We should probably take it. Sometimes people just want a safe space to vent. That's entirely okay. What I can't do is get frustrated and turn the full force of my indignation back on somebody. It's certainly not productive to subtweet someone just because they got upset that somebody was practicing sympathy with them instead of empathy. I can't demand the trust of others. I can only offer them a more trustworthy version of myself.